And USAID is a CIA front. USAID exists for only, there's no aid in USAID. Okay. Even the name will fool you. USAID doesn't mean United States aid. It means the Agency for International Development.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Joe, and this is just your average Joe's experience. I'm telling you, I can smell freedom in the air. The power of democracy always prevails. And I've got something a little spicy today. Now, there's a lot of organizations that are affiliated with the government that they go and a little bit further down than what we really see on the surface. And they've got a little bit more power than they should, such as the FBI. FBI, open up! CIA, even FEMA in some instances. So, let's see. Is USAID actually a part of the CIA?
Raise your voices, stand up high. Battle cries, won't let it die. Shatter chains, break the lie. Reclaim the truth, no alibi.
Well, there's so many CIA connections around Obama. It can sort of make your head spin. So, I mean, starting with his immediate family, his mother was working directly for USAID in Indonesia at the time that the CIA and State Department were effectively operating this massive military operation in Indonesia. And USAID is a CIA front. USAID exists for only, there's no aid in USAID. Okay. Even the name will fool you. USAID doesn't mean United States aid. It means the Agency for International Development. But I mean, starting right with his family. I mean, so not only is she working for USAID in the exact CIA conflict zone that was one of the marquee CIA conflict zones of the area, while USAID was acting as this CIA front, but her money, so she was also funded by the Ford Foundation in the 1970s. And the Ford Foundation was busted in the 1970s in the Church Committee hearings as being one of the premier CIA pass-throughs for laundering money. When you give someone CIA money, it doesn't come with a wire transfer through the SWIFT account saying, "Hi, this is from the Central Intelligence Agency." It goes through webs of nonprofits and 501c3s, and then it goes from there to pass-throughs, and then it goes on to the intended targets through any number of plausible, deniable, links that are set up. But they were sloppy about this in the 1960s and 70s.
Here we have where the Bolivian president Evo Morales said that the CIA was actively conspiring to subvert his government's energy policy, and they actually expelled a U.S. diplomat by the name of Francisco Martinez, and he had been given 72 hours to leave the country. Martinez was in permanent contact with opposition groups in the country, it mentions, and helped facilitate the separatist protests of September 2008. 2 months earlier, Bolivia had expelled U.S. Ambassador Philip Goldberg, accusing him of conspiring against democracy and encouraging Bolivia's breakup. The U.S. government responded by expelling the Bolivian ambassador and ending all special trade benefits with the South American nation. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They reportedly include direct and covert assistance to the opposition movement in Bolivia's energy-rich eastern provinces, as well as CIA-directed U.S. aid and Drug Enforcement Agency DEA operations. So here it talks about that was a CIA-led and directed task that involved U.S. aid. What's funny is the way that apparently the U.S. had responded, that when they were reacting to the expulsion order, the U.S. Embassy in La Paz accused the Bolivian president of using the U.S. as a scapegoat in domestic policies. This isn't the first time that they've been trying to embed themselves into other countries and basically take it over from the inside. We have the Cuban Twitter crisis that had occurred. Here we have another article that has a ton of information in it, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to get to everything. So I'll end up leaving the link down in the description so you can check it out yourself. But basically what it talks about is that the USAID, which is obviously U.S. Agency for International Development, not even USAID, had actually contracted out a project to develop a rival to Twitter in the order to form a rebellion in Cuba, and it was called Zunzuneo. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right, but basically it was contracted out to Creative Associates Inc., CAI, which I guess did most of its out of Cuba operations in Costa Rica. The contract was part of the State Department Civil Society Support Program, and it's the same program that has been used by the CIA to foment rebellions in Ukraine, Syria, Libya, Egypt, Iran, and other countries. So one of the crazy things about this is that they were just taking their information. So some 40,000 Zunzuneo users in Cuba mistakenly believed their messages were private, when in fact they were recorded by USAID, which likely turned them over to the National Security Agency, NSA, for analysis and database archival. So they just kept everything. Going down a little bit further, basically USAID funding documents is in Zao, a Cuban slang word for Hummingbird's tweet, and other civil society projects state that USAID money went to miscellaneous foreign contractors and domestic contractors to support the Cuban initiatives. It was a pet project of then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who, according to APB, had her social media chief Suzanne Hall contact Twitter founder Jack Dorsey to take over Zunzuneo. Dorsey has refused to comment on the report. So did he do it? I don't know. Here it goes on to talk about that the DAI has long history in supporting CIA operations, and it actually goes over and mentions President Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, that Mike Benz had reference to inside the interview. And as you can see, it goes on to talk about that she had worked on microfinancing projects for the USAID and Ford Foundation, both linked to the CIA, another reference, that helped prop up dictatorships in Indonesia and Pakistan. After Suharto seized power in 1965, USAID returned to Indonesia, where Stanley Ann Dunham as one of its chief employees, to help Suharto create the new order that would usher in decades of fascist and kleptocratic rule. Suharto established the Bureau of Logistics, Bulong, that steered USAID, provided rice and other food supply staples to Suharto's business cronies. They went on to create the Berkeley Mafia and some other groups, and you can kind of see what they've been involved in. USAID's been involved in. And it is massively extensive. Just insane the amount of information that's in here. So I would definitely recommend to go over this and just read through it when you have time, or you can pause and read. But there is just a ridiculous amount of information in here, and it just goes without saying how corrupt some of these government organizations really are, and the roots that prop them up are so embedded in the government. And these are not even organizations that are essentially associated to the federal government, but they have the backing of it, not just in monetary backing, but in political backing as well. And that's a very scary thing. Here is actually a CIA report on its relationship to the USAID Office of Public Safety. So every time that it mentions aid in here, it's basically just referencing USAID. It's just cutting off US at the end of it. So liaison with ops/aid and IPAs conducted on a daily basis consists principally of a range of things, training programs, representatives sponsored by CIA area divisions for tours and security, coordinating the agency's participation in the technical investigations course designed to familiarize the trainees with the technique required to properly investigate terrorist activities wherein explosives have been utilized. So they get incendiary training, they get, training on communications, anything that they would need to operate inside another country and carry out whatever agenda that they've set in place. Now, if this doesn't say anything that I don't know what does, Joint CIA/USAID Terrorist Technical Investigations Course number 7. So there obviously had to have been more before that. This effort is a joint CIA/USAID training program for foreign police/security personnel. The initial phase of the training will be conducted at the International Police Academy, Washington, D.C. During the period, the following subject matter is covered in the phase of the training: investigative techniques, collection and preservation of evidence, records, files, and reporting, gathering of information on terrorist groups and their activities. A student seminar devoted to discussions on terrorist and other hostile activities currently existing in their respective countries, etc. This phase of the training is concluded by a 2-day orientation by the bomb squad of the County Police Department of Florida, providing trainings with basic knowledge in the use of commercial military demolitions and incendiaries as they may be applied in terrorism and industrial sabotage operations. Introducing the trainees to commercially available materials and home laboratory techniques likely to be used in the manufacture of explosives and incendiaries by terrorists or saboteurs. This is insane. Conducting several field exercises to give each trainee the opportunity for detecting and neutralizing various explosive and incendiary devices likely to be used by terrorists or saboteurs, including ladder bombs, packages, tacho cases. I'm not even sure what that is. Taking several investigative field exercises of explosive incidents to alert the trainee in the different manner in which to collect, identify, and preserve legally admissible evidence for prosecutive action. Wow. I mean, for starters, the fact that USAID is supposedly a organization that is meant to just provide aid to other countries and, helping them out. Why would they be on something that is a training program for teaching people how to develop incendiary and explosive devices? I mean, obviously, as well as diffusing them, but a lot of this stuff, they don't need that type of information. If they're USAID, if they're meant for just providing aid to other countries, why do they need information and training on how to collect information and terrorize, I guess you could say, different countries? I don't understand. If this isn't what it's meant for, then how does it... I don't understand how they go together then. If it's only meant to provide help and assistance, in what way are they related that they need all this information? If this just goes to show that organizations like the FBI, the CIA, even like it mentioned FEMA in some instances, they have roots that go down so deep that who knows who controls them, who they take orders from. We don't know this stuff. Just for instance, the first assassination attempt against Trump. Just for instance, the first assassination attempt against Trump, when that had occurred, the CIA was constantly saying that they didn't have information. It was still an ongoing investigation. And that's literally the reason that they give Congress they can't provide any information, because it's still an ongoing investigation. Well, hopefully you learned something and you can utilize this information. And we just need to be more informed as a country about what really happens inside our country and what resources things are being used for. Because this is our taxpayer dollars, for instance. This is what we're paying for. And they're being utilized in things that's not necessarily helping us. You just follow lines and they all lead to the same source. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, authorized some of these things. Where do you think she aligns herself? These are all questions that we need to be asking ourselves, because we need to wake up and we need to understand what is happening in our government, in our country, and we need to come back to our roots and focus on ourselves, and that we are a nation founded in God. That's what we need to be focusing on. We need to be focusing on the unity of our country, not with influencing things around the world that we have no place in. That's just my 2 cents.
In the darkness, find the light. Together